Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Workwise for Screen podcast. It's part of a growing collection of practical resources and guidance designed for professionals in the screen industries, supported by the BFI awarding National Lottery funding.
Through these podcasts, live events, and our online community, we help our screen sector better look after all the people their businesses depend on and stay on safe, legal ground. Our guests share practical ways to improve working conditions and well-being across the industry.
I'm Tasita Small, founder of the Small HR Company, supporting HR in the entertainment industry.
And I'm Keith Arrowsmith, a creative industries solicitor and programme director for Workwise for Screen. This episode is a highlight from our recent event in Sheffield. In this episode, we hear from Daniel Pearl, the creative director at Lion Television, a multi-award-winning TV production company making hit series such as Castaway, Britain's Biggest Dig, and Horrible Histories. Daniel talks about team management, motivation, and skills promotion in an industry that's heavily reliant on freelancers. Asking the questions is Dr. Amit Patel, and he starts by asking Daniel what Lion Television is doing to create a positive workplace. Let's hear from Daniel.
So first thing I would say is that I've only been at Lion Television for 18 months. I'm learning a huge amount about how to maintain a company across a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And longevity is our key buzzword, which I think is really interesting because we're at a real inflection point in terms of television, or in terms of our industry, I think. And it's we're all having the same conversations about people coming in, people leaving. One of the terrible things that as a creative director you get is the dozens and dozens of emails from people every day asking for work, and which you try and reply to, but I think everyone's experiencing that. And also I know of many people who've had enough and have left and have decided it's not going to work for them. And I think there's a couple of things here going on. One is, as a sector, we don't really have a structure. We're also winging it a little bit as we go along. It isn't like the civil service, right? You go in as one rank and then you move up to another rank and you move up to another rank. And I think there was probably back in the day a bit of that. I was lucky enough to start off at the BBC in the 1990s. And, you got a pension, you got paid holiday, and you slowly worked your way up and you went into different departments, and if you were lucky, you got training and you could apply for jobs. That doesn't exist anymore, not even at the BBC, which, okay, I'm not going to say what I'll say that later, but even at the BBC, which is publicly funded, doesn't have that structure anymore. They are using freelancers.
Yes.
They are working in kind of echoing some of the things that you see in the indie sector. And so in the independent sector, given that we don't have that structure, I think it's kind of incumbent upon us as kind of leaders or creative leaders to try as our best to impose a bit of structure. So in answer to your question about kind of the company and the ethos, we can't mirror those civil service structures as long as we want to.
Yeah.
But as long as, if we can offer proper contracts, if we can keep people within the business and within the sector, within the company for as long as possible, if we can offer, we don't offer 1 or 2 weeks, but we might be able to offer a year or 2 years. And if they can see, there are people in Lion who've been working there for 18 years, and there are people who were working in reception who are now executive producers. And so and we can see that is a cultural thing. And on the whole, if we can keep that going, so people want to come to Lion and stay at Lion.
Yeah, and you're part of the All3 group. How does having a parent company affect what you're able to do when working with your teams?
So All3 is a 1.4 billion pound business, and we're not, but we're a very small part of that. But it does mean we have all those supports.
Yeah.
So we do obviously have a central HR department that we can go to, which is enormously helpful. We have our own legal team, but they also have legal support as well. We have the talent team, which, if we get into talking about talent, that is an incredibly useful central pool.
Right. So I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but how do you make your freelancers feel part of the business?
So talking just specifically about Lion, we try our absolute best where we've got series to try and give them
Yeah.
long contracts as we possibly can.
Right.
So they don't see themselves as freelancers. I guess everyone's a freelancer
Yeah.
in our world, but they feel that they're working at Line, and then similarly to try and keep them on. So for example, we've got 2 or 3 shows we're doing Channel 5, which are very kind of similar-ish type programs.
Right.
It allows us to move the producers and the researchers from one team to another. If they feel like they're going to stay, I would say it's a lovely culture. And I think lots of producers and lots of production companies have lovely cultures. And I genuinely think that Line's a lovely place to work. But that's fundamentally, it's about the business. It's about the life we bring in. I mean, the stress is that we have to bring in the work. And without that, we haven't got any jobs to offer anybody.
Okay. And also, how do you find the opportunity to train staff and grow their skill sets during the busy production cycles of your show? Because you say that, people come into Lion and they, from one job to another, and the culture-wise, there must be something great in that culture for them to want to stay in there.
Yeah, I think culturally, I think it is a really lovely place, and I think that's because it reflects all businesses are basically reflections of usually of the people at the very top. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it's Richard who started the company and he has created a lovely environment to work in. In terms of training, what we do try and do is create as much as possible as a career path, because we've got enough programs to move people around. So we got in some shows the other day, and we were able to move someone who's never been in edit before and allow them to be in the edit. That's the only way they're going to learn, by doing it. We give them as many training jobs as training schemes until they're literally in there having to make the decisions, and they're not going to learn. And I think that we're lucky because we've got a position where we had enough shows and enough kind of flexibility to do that. But I mean, that's the aim anyway.
Okay, that's great. That's brilliant. And what schemes do you have? What schemes do you offer to try and find diverse emerging talents out there?
Well, so we use the All 3 Talent Team a lot, and that is their full-time role, and we have a kind of constant dialogue with them.
Okay.
They know their job is to find people.
Right.
So we're very fortunate in that sense.
Okay, and finally, how can Workwise for Screens help people like you in ensuring that you're creating a positive and focused team? I mean,
it's relatively new, but what it's trying to do, which is answer some of the things that we've been discussing here, which is how do you create a kind of disaggregated sector where people could be completely alone, as freelancers and with no support systems whatsoever, which is a pretty lonely place to be. Mm-hmm. You haven't got the BBC giving you employment for 30 years. And so anything which can provide answers to some of the questions people have and help them in all the way through their career is going to be very, very helpful. And I mean, it's a free resource. So
that's it. Why not use it? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you.
One of the themes that Daniel touched upon was this idea that sometimes it's good to have a longer term view on the value of good working practices, and longevity being a key buzzword for Lion Television. Yeah, that kind of focus on maintaining the company and its business and retaining the talent over an extended period of time to make the best possible use of the investment, rather than assuming that it's got to be a short-term contract as the answer for every situation. So that idea that you can make freelancers feel like a really valued member of the team by offering longer term arrangements. And that's never always going to be possible, but making sure that you've got that kind of connection between projects so that the opportunities arise and people think about that longer term view, if it is possible, and how valuable that can be. There's something really important about making sure that we have as many different ways of training people up as possible. So it could happen through a formal scheme, but it also can happen through something less formal, through hands-on experience, where we're moving people through into new roles as they become available so that they can learn by actually doing the work and making the relevant decisions. On the Workwise for Screen platform, we've got more tools to help you put this into practice. Hold the Door Open, Rethinking Talent Retention and Inclusion, and another called Upskilling the Industry, Finding Time and Budget for Training and Mentoring. Thanks for listening to the Workwise for Screen podcast, supported by the BFI awarding National Lottery funding.
Our online platform provides lots of easy to understand information and invites to our events. Visit our website at workwiseforscreen.org.uk and register for the latest updates.
Please follow us on social media and join in this crucial conversation.
And contact us with suggestions for future episodes, or if you can, support the programme in any other way. This podcast is produced by 1860. Music is by Benjamin Squires.